Sam is the real hero. It's something you've probably heard many times if you are in any way a fan of The Lord of the Rings. While I'm not going to argue the veracity of this statement, I do think it often serves to discredit Frodo. Though I enjoy the movies, it is the books I love. I read them every year. Over the years, I have noticed a general feeling among fans, especially movie fans, that Frodo is a wimp or a lousy hero. As can be seen in the results of this quiz, whoever wrote it had a poor opinion of Frodo. But why do so many people have such a low opinion of Frodo? My theory is that Peter Jackson's film adaptations have a lot to do with it. Much of the book's content had to be cut for time, and others had to be changed in order to translate to screen. In my opinion, many of these changes have negatively impacted the portrayal of Frodo's character. In this video, I will compare scenes from the books and movies that display 4 key aspects of Frodo's character that did not fully translate to the screen. These are his concern for his friends, his courage, his relationship with Sam and Gollum, and the effects of the ring's corruption. In The Fellowship of the Ring, a huge chunk of the first part of the book is left out of the movie for the sake of time. Unfortunately, this means that when watching the movie, we don't get to see the relationship between the 4 main hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. In the book, as Frodo begins his journey, and the reality of the danger of his quest sets in, Frodo decides not to allow his friends to come with him, as he does not want to lead them into such hardships. In the chapter titled A Shortcut to Mushroom, Frodo says to himself, "It is one thing to take my young friends walking over the Shire with me, until we are hungry and weary, and food and bed are sweet. To take them into exile, where hunger and weariness may have no cure, is quite another, even if they are willing to come. The inheritance is mine alone. I don't think I ought even to take Sam." In the following chapter, when Merry and Pippin reveal that they know of Frodo's plan to leave the Shire, and why he must do so, Frodo tries to dissuade them from coming with him, but Merry and Pippin insist on facing the danger with Frodo on the grounds of friendship. Again, we see the same desire to keep his friends out of danger, and away from temptation, in the movie and in the last chapter of The Fellowship of the Ring, titled The Breaking of the Fellowship, when Frodo decides to leave the Fellowship and go to Mordor alone. As a consequence of changes to details for dramatic effect and scenes cut for time, we lose many instances of Frodo's courage and valor in the film adaptations. One great example is Frodo's actions in the scene on Weathertop. In the movie, when confronted by the Nazgul on Weathertop, Frodo drops his sword, falls, and puts on the ring as a last-ditch attempt to avoid being stabbed. In the book, however, Frodo is faced with an overwhelming urge to put on the ring as the Nazgul approach. After a struggle, he yields to temptation and slips on the ring. When the Nazgul bear down on him, he cries out in Elvish and strikes at the feet of his enemy with his sword. It is only then that he is stabbed and falls unconscious. Another example happens shortly after, when, wounded and hunted, Frodo crosses the ford of Bruinen. In the movie, Arwen carries a barely conscious Frodo on her horse as they are chased down by the Nazgul. When she finally crosses the ford, she turns and says, "If you want him, come and claim him," as she draws her sword. The Nazgul begin to cross, but Arwen conjures the river to swell and they are swept away. In the book, the wounded Frodo is alone on the elven horse as the Nazgul chase him. In the chapter Flight to the Ford, after Frodo crosses to the opposite bank, his horse stops and turns to face the riders on the other side. Not knowing of any way to prevent them from crossing just as easily as he had, he knew further flight would be fruitless. As one of the riders begins to advance, Frodo cries, "Go back! Go back to the land of Mordor, and follow me no more!" The riders laugh and mock him. The ring!" they cry, and advance into the water. Frodo raises his sword and says, "By Elbereth and Luthien, The fair, you shall have neither the ring nor me." Frodo is then struck dumb by the lead rider and his sword breaks and falls from his hand. As he begins to lose consciousness, he sees the river rise up and sweep the riders away. Gandalf later tells him that Elrond had sent the flood. The dynamics of the relationships of Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol are also different in the books and movies. In the movies, as the ring slowly begins to corrupt Frodo, he becomes increasingly snappish at Sam and even nearly kills him in the climax of The Two Towers, a scene not found in the books. Frodo also develops a sort of bond with Smeagol, which causes further conflict between him and Sam. Often, he snaps at Sam while defending Smeagol. In the books, however, Frodo and Sam's bond remains strong. Every time Sam goes to Frodo with his concerns that Gollum will betray them, Frodo agrees but argues that it won't happen just yet, and they need Smeagol in order to achieve their quest. The culmination of these fundamental changes to their relationship dynamics is clearly seen in the differences from book to movie of the events of Shelob's Lair. In the movie, after an act of trickery on Gollum's part, Frodo tells Sam to go home. As Sam tearfully attempts to descend the stairs of Cirith Ungol, Frodo enters Shelob's lair with Gollum as his guide. When Sam slips on the stair and encounters evidence of Gollum's trickery, he decides to go back to try and rescue Frodo. In the book, however, Frodo and Sam stay united as they follow Gollum into Shelob's lair. Gollum quickly disappears, and Frodo and Sam are left groping around in the dark, holding hands as they try to find their way through. A big challenge Peter Jackson had to face while adapting The Lord of the Rings was how to show externally the internal temptation and corruption of the ring. Much of the internal battle of wills Frodo faces when being tempted by the ring cannot be fully portrayed on screen. We see externally Frodo fighting to not put on the ring, but we cannot fully see what is going on inside his head. In a visual medium, we cannot fully know how strong the temptation is. In the movies, the lasting effects of the ring after it has been destroyed are neither seen nor understood. Frodo's continued attachment to the ring is only hinted at. This makes it hard to understand why Frodo is the only one of the hobbits that struggles to recover from their adventures. In the books, on the other hand, it is established early on that only in giving up the ring freely can one truly recover from its influence. In the end, Frodo was unable to willingly give up the ring. Its traumatic loss has left him broken and unable to fully recover. He is still plagued with a longing for the ring that no longer exists. These examples are far from exhaustive, but do serve to illustrate the ways in which Frodo's care for his friends, courage, relationships, and the effects of the ring were lost in adaptation. Because of this, Frodo has become an underrated character. His desire to protect his friends, his courage when facing the Nazgul, and his unfailing trust in Sam are forgotten. But if one takes the time to read the books, Frodo's true heroism cannot be ignored.